consistency ends up being the most valuable skill that you can acquire. What's up, guys? This is Mighty Q with Mighty Q's Locker here, and today I honestly wanted to make this episode because I felt very inclined after some of the things that I just came across today. I was kind of thinking of a handful of different podcast topics because I basically group all of my stuff together, and I do all of my brainstorming session for the podcast all in one day, and for the videos in one day, workouts in one day. Like, I do all of them in segments and stuff. So when it came to the podcast topic for today's show and what I wanted to talk about, and now actually getting to actually record it, I was looking around and I couldn't really find much, and I kept looking at different things, and I looked back some of the other stuff that I looked about and some of the other things that I'm working on. And essentially, the one thing that I kind of keep always coming back to, based off of what so many people keep asking me, is they're like, well, how do I get better right now? Like, I want to be better at wrestling right this second. Like, I want to be so good. I just want to get good right now. And it's like, that's not going to happen. Like, you could work out 10 hours a day, and if you do that 10 hours a day and you do it one time a year, then it's not very valuable. But you're like, I spent so long, and I was in there for 10 straight hours, and I was sweating my ass off, and we were getting after, and we were doing whatever. It's like, okay, but you did that one day, and you didn't do it after that. When it comes to the consistency side of it, I read a statistic today that if you do whatever task or whatever skill that you're trying to acquire, so like if you're trying to play a new instrument, if you're playing a sport, anything like that, of that kind of skill, if you do it for 18 minutes a day, every single day, you will be better than 95% of people that have that same skill. If you did jiu-jitsu every single day for 20 minutes a day, 365 days out of the year, you would be better than 95% of people that do jiu-jitsu. It's really that simple. It gets broken down in such a small term that you realize, oh, it's really easy to accomplish a lot. It really only takes 20 minutes a day? Yes, it really only takes 20 minutes a day. The vast majority of podcasts, 90% of podcasts, don't make it past episode 8. So if you can make it past episode, you can make it and record episode 9, you are already in the top 10% of all podcasts. It's the same for YouTube. It's the same for Instagram. It's the same for Twitter. It's now the same even for this new great thing, Threads. You have to do it consistently, and consistently consecutive days. The reason 20 minutes doesn't sound like a lot is because it's not a lot. When you think of 24 hours in a day and you think of 20 minutes, that's not very much. For me, I'm up 16 to 18 hours. Most of the time, I'm up 18 hours. There's a lot of days where it's 20. But in that same realm, it only takes 20 minutes. So whether I'm practicing wrestling or doing jiu-jitsu, whatever it may be. And so here's the fun part. If I do it for 30 minutes a day, every single day, for a year, and then the next year, I do it 45 minutes a day, every day for the next year, I'm going to see substantial gains, and I'm only going to continue to get better and better because I'm investing the time. Most people don't get good at anything because they don't invest the time. You want to build a great website? It's going to take time. Why? Because you either had to have had built websites before, and that took time, or you're going to have to acquire the skills to do every little thing that you want to do on that website. And that's going to take a long time to do. You're going to have to go watch videos. You're going to have to go research. You're going to have to go practice. You're going to have to go mess around with it yourself, trial and error. And that's going to take a long time. I'll let you know it takes roughly like 2 to 3 weeks because that's what I did with my first website. I had no clue. I had a base idea. I had a general knowledge of kind of what I wanted. And so I was just kind of slapping stuff together. I had no clue what I was doing. I had no clue the tools that I was using. I had no idea on the layout. I had no idea on a theme, no idea on color scheme, no idea on any functionality or flow or transitions or the seamlessness of any of it. So now that it's been years and I've tinkered with multiple different websites, I've built multiple different websites, I've put the time in, I've watched the videos, I've done the investments, I've done the learning, I've gotten the education. Now it takes me 4 hours. Now, because it takes me 4 hours versus 2 weeks, do you think I'm better in the 4 hours that it takes for me to build a website or the 2 weeks? I'm more efficient now because I was consistent with the process of learning all the little things that I wanted to do with the website. The same goes for wrestling. I was at so many wrestling practices every single day, but I went every single day. It wasn't like I did a 2 a day and I didn't go for 3 days. No, I did 2 a days virtually every day, and then I was at tournaments and duels the opposite days I didn't have practice. It's very easy to get good, and it's very easy to get good very fast if you're able to front load it. This is what I talked about in the 80-20 rule in one of the last episodes. It takes 20 hours of focused, dedicated attention to any skill. In your first 20 hours, you will learn 80% of the things that you will need for the remainder of that skill. If you learn to play an instrument, you're going to learn how to play each key, or not each key, but each note. And once you know how to play each note, it's then about learning and finding the melodies and the transition and the flow from one note to the next. It has everything to do with just being comfortable at it. I remember the first podcast I ever recorded. Not very good. Had no meaning, no flow, no anything. And so now, I don't know, I've done a couple hundred. I'm not saying, I've done anywhere near the amount that I want, but at the same time, I know it's going to take time. I can't have 1,000 episodes under my belt if I do a podcast a week and I started, a few months ago. If I'm doing a handful of podcasts a week, this is episode 14 because all the other podcasts that I've done, they've all been scrambled. They've all been not organized, no plan, no anything else. And so they were all over the place. You can go find Switch Up Sports. It's still out there. It's on YouTube. I think it's on Apple Podcasts. Now, it's not very relevant. All the shows are like from 5 years ago. So I'm talking about things that have no relevance. Now, the stats and the takes that I had, those were still me, and I still hit at a very high percentage rate. I want to say that most of my takes hit at about 80%. Most of my sports picks, I'm roughly around 80-85% lifetime with all of my different podcasts and things that I've been on making predictions with game picks. When I used to run the Facebook and Instagram live videos, when I would do the podcast, that's all information and all reps that I took. That's the me in the mat room shooting a double leg over and over and over and over and over again until it's second nature. You don't think about where you're putting your heel. You don't go, okay, heel, toe, knee. Okay, now we step up with this leg. We windshield wiper. We are going to bounce and stand up. And then this hand's going here. You don't do that. You do that when you first learn. But then what do? You put in the reps. You put in the reps. You put in more reps. You get better. You put in more reps. You learn it. You tweak it slightly. You put in more reps. You learn it slightly different. You tweak it a little bit. You get a little bit better. You get more efficient. You get better. You get better. You get better. And now you don't even think about it. You just go ahead and do it. You just take the shot. You're in your regular flow. You have your setups. You have the shots that you go to. You don't have to think about, oh, okay, well, I need my left foot here and then my right foot here. It's consistency. You put in the most reps if you do it every single day for just a little bit amount of time. That's the same way that I'm going to write this book. I'm going to write this book because I'm going to work on it for roughly 30 minutes a day, and I'm just going to work on it every day. If I finish it in 10 months, I finish it in 10 months. If I finish it in 3 years, I finish it in 3 years. I'm going to make sure that this book is really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just work on it consistently. It has nothing to do with, oh, I'm a better author, or I'm a better writer, I'm a better this. It has everything to do with, I'm just going to work on it, and I'm going to take the turtle approach, where I'm just going to basically just keep taking steps every single day. Good luck. I'm not stopping. So however far I make it is however far I decide I want to go. The analogy gets made all the time. We lost in Vietnam because they still roughing out. Bad analogy. Scrapping it. We're gonna switch differently. I mentioned it in the thread earlier. To win the finite game, you have to apply infinite rules. And applying infinite rules means I'm going to zoom out so far that the finite doesn't matter. I'm not trying to, give myself, okay, I only have, 6 months to write the book. If I give myself 6 months to write the book, I can write the book in 6 months and it can be pretty good. And it's, I can give myself deadlines. But just arbitrarily saying, yep, it's going to be done in 6 months when the writing just started, the planning just started, that's dumb. That's really dumb. I'm going to work on it consistently every single day. And when I get further along into the process, when I get roughly 20 days in, is when I'll have a little bit better understanding, because I'll be at about 10 hours. Maybe 12 if I, put in a little bit of extra time each day. But realistically, I spent about 30 minutes today, and then I stopped. I moved on to the next thing, and that's all I'm going to do. That's the same thing I try to do with this podcast. I try to spend roughly roughly 2 to 4 days every week at roughly, 20 to 30 minutes. That's what I try to take for this podcast. That's something I know I can do every single week. And so I'm not trying to be, worrying about, how do I spend as much time on this podcast as possible? It's like, how can I be the best I can be at this podcast? Well, you know what I can do? I can work on it 2 to 4 times a week. I can spend roughly 2 to 4 hours on it every single week. And if I spend 2 to 4 hours on it every single week, I'm going to get 2 to 4 hours worth of content and 2 to 4 hours worth of learning and skill and reps better every single week. All I have to do is get that 2 to 4 hours. That's all I have to do. I could care less if people are watching it. I can care less about anything other than that. I care about spending the 2 to 4 hours on it every single week. The same way I'm going to care about spending 30 minutes every single day on this book. The same way that if you want to get good at wrestling or any other sport or any, unique skill, playing an instrument, singing, whatever it may be, invest 20 dedicated hours first to learn the fundamentals, learn the skills, learn if you actually like it. And then once you invest those 20 hours, find the way to do it consistently every single day. You hate your job? You hate your 9 to 5? Good. Figure out what it is you can do every single day and you go, okay, if I woke up and I had to work for, 6 hours, what would I do for those 6 hours? What would I enjoy doing? What do I like doing? For some people, if you love working out and you're a gym rat, gym freak, just absolute gym fanatic, you're there every single day, well, you know what? You can make a lot of money by being in the gym influencer and personal training and online coaching and gym sphere world. You don't have to work a 9 to 5 if you don't like working a 9 to 5. If you absolutely hate your job and you every single day are like, this is a detriment to me, I absolutely hate this, I can't stand it, I don't want to go, then good. Start today, find out what it is that you actually want, decide what it is that you want, and then all you're going to do is you're going to work on that consistently every single day. So if your thing is, for example, I want to be an online personal trainer and fitness coach. Perfect. Work on it at least 30 minutes to an hour every single day. Start with a website, start with a plan, start with a marketing plan. There's going to be 10,000 different things that you're going to have to do. And it's going to sound crazy. You're going to spend, if you truly set a timer and say, okay, I'm only going to work on this 30 minutes, and you start getting into all of those tasks and say, okay, well, I'm just going to do as much as I can in 30 minutes every single day, you are never going to get enough done. That timer's going to go off and you're going to go, darn it, I was so close. That was 30 minutes already? Darn. It's just about actually doing stuff. That's all it is. Just do it. Just do it. You want to grow a social media following? Post every single day. Post multiple times a day. Every single day. Don't miss a day. Because if you post every single day and you're making videos every day, or you're making content every day, or you're doing whatever every single day, you are going to get better at it, because that is the natural way of how this world works. Evolution, battle of the fittest, natural selection. That's how it works. Butterflies, when they, first migrated and moved into a new area, the ones who are able to adapt and hide and find food sources and find out how they can make their newest living situation work and adapt are the ones that survived. And once they adapted, they then were able to pass what they adapted onto their kids, who then adapted into their world, and the ones who adapted the best stayed, and they continued on. It's the same thing for humans. Natural selection. The fittest of the fittest, the best of the best, are the ones that are going to rise to the top. Why? Because those are the ones that are better than everyone else, because they invest the time. People in the UFC are not just street brawlers. They're not dudes who can just knock somebody out. They are people who have worked and spent countless hours perfecting their craft. Guys who are playing NFL games every week on Sunday spent their lives playing football building up until that point. The two-a-days, the three-a-days, the film study, the lifting sessions, the secondary lifting sessions, the rehab for the guys that got injured and made it back and came back. The then off-season programs, the in-season programs, the post-season programs. All of that stuff is work. If I put most people through a single day of what a pro athlete goes through and what their training schedule looks like and all the things that they have to deal with, most people wouldn't take it. Most people think, oh, they just show up, they're playing a game, they're having fun. They don't look at the countless hours of preparation. They don't look at the countless hours spent in the gym. They don't look at all the other training that you're doing in practice and then post-practice, and then the other countless times that you're thinking about games that you were in, and then also actually competing in those games. And then still, making time to work in your family and friends and other things that you want to work on. It comes down to effort and consistency. How good do you want to be? Decide, pick, what exactly do you want? And after you decide what you want, go get it. Just work on it every single day. I promise you, you'll get it. You might not get it in the first day. You might not get it in the first 6 months. But if you just work on it every single day, I guarantee you, you will get it eventually. If you say, I want $1 million, I'm going to, have $1 million, and you worked at it every single day, and you were doing everything possible to make that happen, and you just said, yep, no matter what, I'm going to keep working at this thing because it's going to make me $1 million because it's a, whatever widget, project, system, service, but I don't care what it is. Decide what it is you want. Work on it every single day. Give it 110% effort. If you do that, there's nothing you can't get. Period. You're born to win because of that rule right there. You're going to pick what you want because only you know what it is that you want. And then you're just going to not stop working at it. You're going to get whatever it is that you want. Delay the gratification, bust your ass, and go get it. All right, guys, that is it for me today. That was a lot of fun on that podcast, like I said, especially for something that kind of came up out of the blue relatively in the planning phase and, kind of how I was putting all this together. The only thing I ask on this podcast, I don't sell anything. I'm not trying to, advertise any of this stuff. The only really thing that I want is if you got something of value out of this, then share it with a friend and, and or leave a review because that works both in tandem. If you can do, one of those two things, whether you're sending it to a friend and say, hey, this was really awesome, whatever, maybe you could use it or, whatever it may be. Or if you're just leaving a review, basically saying the same thing, if you don't have anyone actually that you want to send it to, you might feel bad because I know sometimes when we're working on our own personal growth, we feel bad if we feel that we're leveling up and, it's not a slap in the face to send it to somebody, but some people will take it that way as they think I'm, they know so much or they're better. And those types of people you should probably cut out of your life anyways. But yeah, send it to a friend or leave a review is all I ask. And other than that, you guys are just going to have to tune in to the next episode and we're going to go and be rocking and rolling from there. All right, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.